Our morning begins with getting the kids off to school, off to the bus, and then the dogs and I jump in the car and we go to the woods. And if we get there early enough, usually we're the only ones there. And we walk for about 35-40 minutes and then get home. So I already had all my wreath supplies laid out on the table, so I could just grab my coffee and get started. And the first thing you're going to do is take some wire that's meant for floral arranging, and you just tie it off on one piece of your wreath form. In this case, I'm using a grapevine wreath that I got at a thrift store. And I just kind of attach that end of the wire and then leave it on the spool. And then what you do is you just start taking your bunches of flowers. In this case, my straw flowers mostly were already bundled in rubber bands because I hung them upside down to dry. Now, I'd say I was about 50-50 on this. Sometimes I just laid them down in a bowl or on a table, and those were actually harder for me to work with. But the ones in the rubber bands, very easy and ready to go. So what you do is after you get the first bunch, you just wrap the wire around, you go around and around, and then you take your next bunch and you lay it over, overlapping just slightly so that it looks pretty seamless. And I will just continue to do that as we go down. Some of the bundles are a little bit more free form. As you can see, this one here, this more yellow color, they were longer stems, a little bit fuller. So I'm going to try to make that as symmetrical as possible. Try to get the other side to match that. So I put a bundle aside that kind of is similar to that. And again, it's just overlapping, wrapping. You're never cutting the wire. The wire stays one piece the entire time. And then you just kind of turn your wreath, add more bunches. You're trying to cover as much area as you can with the wire, because once the wire is done, that's when you move to the glue gun to fill any spaces. And you can already see here, you can see the rubber band where I started the bunches at top there. You can see that is very clear. Nothing's covering that. You can see some of the wire is exposed at this point. But right now, you're just trying to get as much covered as possible. So once we get to the end, then we're going to cut the wire, leaving quite a bit of string or a bit of length, and then just tie it off in the back. So you're only tying this off twice, in the beginning and at the end. And it's good to time this for when your cat is not around, because she was quite obsessed with this little adventure we had. So right now I'm just checking it out. I'm seeing where the gaps are and what I'm going to need to do to cover it. And it actually isn't too bad. It could be a lot worse. So I'm pretty happy with the coverage at this point. This is when Penny finds cilantro that had dried. She loves cilantro actually more than she loves catnip. So I have to get a lot more of that for her this year. She just devours it. All right, so next is the glue gun. This is not my favorite part. I'm not going to painfully make you watch this. You are just filling in the gaps. You're covering the rubber band, you're covering the wire. You try to make it as even as possible. And that's it. It is such a simple process. And I've been putting this off for months. And I am so happy to finally have it done. Now, the dining room is a hot mess, but it is going to go in the dining room. And once it's cleaned up, I think it'll be such a beautiful addition. I thought it was going to be an autumn wreath, but it's actually welcoming spring. Happy spring. As always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you.